So usually I start my four questions journalist spotlight with a little welcome to another edition. Uh, but this is the first edition of a new podcast that I think I'm going to call the Four Questions Atlanta PR and Marketing Spotlight. And I thought, who better to start with than my friend Caren West, who keeps saying we need to meet up for lunch or coffee, and we're going in 10 different directions, which is not always a bad thing. But I wanted to do this podcast because I feel like there's so many cool, fun, innovative PR and marketing people around, even just Metro Atlanta, that I wanted to tell their stories and talk about what they do. And because I don't, Caren, I don't know about you, but I feel like people don't understand what we do sometimes, right? And they don't know the difference between PR, marketing, and advertising.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. First, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be the first person. Now, as you said, we've been trying to catch up in person for so long, I think before COVID.
Yeah.
Here we are and talking about PR. And it's really interesting. It's something that I think about all the time. And obviously, it's a question I'm sure that you get asked all the time, like, well, what is a PR and what is it that you do? And I think that there are a lot of misunderstandings. And also, it's kind of fuzzy as far as what we do and what we bring to the table and what different types of PR do.
Right.
And so, you can have the very straightforward answer that if you ask like Alexa or, you Google it, who are we? We disseminate information. We're kind of the OG influencers. We're working for a brand, we're working for, a person, whatever it may be. And we're creating messaging, taking it and getting it out to, the right channels, hopefully. But as you know, and I'm sure you can speak from experience, it's a lot more. So I would love to hear from you too, a little bit. I think that your story is so important and what you've done for the Atlanta community when it comes to PR and marketing and media is really important, and they all really intertwine. And that's where I'm kind of a geek about it too, which is why I'm very honored to be on this and talking about this because it's important.
Yeah, and I love kind of following what you do with your clients. And I was thinking, man, they got such fun clients.
We do.
So sometimes all my clients are fun, right? But some more fun than others, right? And every once in a while you get a client that's like, okay, this is really fun. This is really cool. And then you get, some clients are like, okay, this is an interesting client in a different way. It's a B2B client, or it's a professional services and a very niche focus in an industry. And I mean, I've had clients where they'll come to me and say, I don't care about general consumer media at all. In fact, my first client, when I started, so I'm like 20 years in this owning my own agency thing, right? And one of my first retainer client, it's like 4 months in, and this guy was a small company that was selling supplemental health insurance. And I had to figure out what that meant for one thing, right? Right. And he said, well, we sell kind of a rider that goes with other insurance policies. So it's basically other insurance companies buy our product. So if you're a general consumer, you don't buy our product. It's just, I don't care about being in the Business Chronicle or the Journal Constitution. So I just want to be in insurance industry, trade publications. I want to speak at conferences. That's what I want to do. It's like, okay, that's cool. And that's focused. And I guess people think about PR and they think of like publicists, and they think, oh, you got to get me in the Wall Street Journal and CNN and get me on TV and in People magazine and that kind of thing. And 90% of what we do is not that.
Right.
It's that. Yeah, good.
I was going to say, it's like so often, for people in my age group, it's Sex in the City and you see somebody like Samantha and it's all glam, or, we do lifestyle PR. We are working with, restaurants and music festivals and amazing brands and, cool stuff. This is fun. We get to do it in a lot of ways, and we're very, very grateful for that. But there's a lot of really, really hard work that goes into it and behind the scenes and things that maybe the public doesn't know about, as far as like the speaking gigs or the trade magazines or things that are important to the business world, or just even behind the scenes of helping to shape a brand, messaging, and a strategy, and getting them in front of the right people, and all of these things that really aren't super sexy, or what people think, like, oh my gosh, well, right, you're going to get me on the red carpet or whatever. And yeah, sure, that may happen, but depending on the client, but it's not just that.
Right. And that same insurance client that I was talking about, we started setting him up going to do presentations at like insurance industry conferences, which, if you're not in the insurance industry, that doesn't sound fun, right? But I said, you got to go to these, you go to a couple, you get on the panels, you get your name out there, do keynotes and that kind of thing. It's like, okay, fine. He didn't want to do it. And he comes back from one of these conferences and he says, forget what I said. I said, why? What happened? He said, okay, so I went to this conference, and after I did whatever, I was on this panel you set up, and I was walking out, and I was waiting on the cab line to go back to the hotel, and I started talking to this guy next to me. We were just waiting for a cab. Turns out this guy was like a senior vice president with like the country's third largest insurance company, and he had been trying to get into this company for 2 years, and they weren't taking his calls. And because he was at this conference, and because he met this guy, he got a meeting and sold this product. And he's like, this is whatever I was paying you for 5 years. This is worth more than that.
Absolutely.
He never would have gotten that. And that's the kind of thing. And people don't understand that. I mean, the trade show stuff is just crazy. People,
that's a whole podcast episode, like,
right?
All that, right?
Yeah. Oh, I hate walking around trade shows because I always look at the people in the booth, go, doing that wrong. People sitting down, eating food, talking to themselves. I'm like, why are you here?
I think when it comes to PR, you're definitely, we always say that it's a lifestyle, and it sounds kind of cheesy, but I think when you start thinking like a publicist, or if it's in your human nature, which is really how I came into it, where, I'd never taken a PR class in my life, like,
me either.
Right. Yeah. So if somebody is like, what's PR? I was like, public relations, but what does that really mean? And really looking at what your strengths are and what you're good at, right? And for me, it was networking. I was really a natural when it came to events, logistics, understanding behind the scenes, or doing what you did, where you're going and assessing a room and figuring out how to, take advantage of it, how to maximize it. And those are all roles that we really play, in addition to, when you start working with different clients, you're often, a psychologist, you're a fireman, you're putting out, or firewoman, you're putting out fires all day, you're coming in and you're doing crisis communications or handling a crisis, which is a whole nother level that a lot of people don't understand, that the care and that goes into it, and that there are all these different channels. Or the average person, who's watching TV or watching a newscast and doesn't understand maybe the logistics behind a press conference. I love to use those examples to be like, okay, well, we're the people behind the scenes that are helping to make that happen.
Right.
Or if they don't understand, like, well, why don't we have all of this information right now? And it's like, okay, well, because it's not available at this time, or there's certain protocol that has to be followed, whatever it may be, politically or otherwise.
There's never like good sitcoms about PR people, right? I mean, you got these lawyers. I guess the lawyers would say the lawyer shows are not good sitcoms about lawyers either. But
yeah,
there was one on, is it Netflix or something, a year or two back, called, I want to say it was called Flax or something. Did you see that one?
I did not.
It was like a British PR firm.
Okay.
But it was all like high level superstars and A-list actors and celebrity clients. Right. And it was like Sex and the City. It was all parties and glamour and
right.
And all that kind of thing. I'm like,
in the land where that does not exist.
Right. Exactly. He's like, yeah. And all the insanity that goes into planning an event, from like, okay, what color napkin should we put on the table? I decided, I used to do a lot of that event logistics stuff for agencies. And I got to the point where it's like, I really don't care what color the napkins are on the tables anymore. So I'm going to let somebody else do that.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to do the media. And I would tell clients would be like, well, gosh, we didn't get a whole lot of media out to this press briefing. I think it doesn't matter. you got all this other media before and you're getting all this other media after. It doesn't matter if they're at your event. What matters is the coverage they do. And it doesn't matter if it's like they could all show up for your event and none of them do any coverage. And are you going to be happy then that they all showed up for your event? I mean, reporters don't care.
I think it's really interesting, and for sure. And I'm sorry, I totally got you off track because I'm excited to talk to you, but I know you had some specific questions.
Yeah. Okay. So
dive into any of those, or I'm just going to keep rambling, and we'll be.
Yeah, I know that we'll talk for an hour.
Yeah.
So, I got to remind people. So click that, if you're watching this on YouTube, click the subscribe button because I'm 99% away from actually monetizing my YouTube channel.
Congratulations.
No,
That's awesome.
99% away from it.
Oh, 99%. I thought you were right there.
No. I'm like, I'm 1% along the road. I have to have like 4,000 subscribers or something and have like 80. So, by the time I retire, I'll actually monetize my YouTube platform. But I keep clicking it going, oh, maybe there's another one. There's another one. It's like, go subscribe now. One day I'm going to have a podcast and I'm going to have like 3,000 people click subscribe all at once. I'll be, oh, cool. And then I can retire and make money off. You see all these people are making like millions of dollars off the YouTube channels, right? Like, how do I do that? And it's stupid stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's like, look, I'm doing a YouTube about making Jell-O. Like, okay. All right. So, I do love Jell-O. Well, there's a show called Next Level Chef, one of the Gordon Ramsay shows. And one of the contestants is she's like a TikTok chef or something like that. She makes recipes on TikTok. And she's got, 1 million subscribers or something like that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. All right. Yeah. See, now I'm throwing off on tangents. Okay, but that's okay.
All right, that's okay.
So let's do this first. So
sure.
Tell me, what is Caren West PR? And I want you to talk about kind of your areas of specialty and your kind of the types of clients and the kinds of services that you offer your clients. So I'm going to let you talk about that first.
Yeah. So, what I would normally spill out is that we are an award-winning, which I'm very proud of, lifestyle PR agency. We have been in business for more than 17 years. I co-founded it with my business partner, Chad Shearer. He's amazing and incredibly talented and smart and an incredible publicist.
Is he in the room there with you?
No, he's not.
Oh, okay. You're not saying that because he's like off there with a car going, say, no. I'm incredible.
No, I'm gonna he's gonna be like, oh, I'm amazing. He's the most humble guy ever. So I really sometimes
he's a good guy. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
so I interrupted you. So
yeah, no, it's fine. So we really specialize in lifestyle PR, and our company is a little bit different. As we're not really niche. We're in the lifestyle arena. A lot of times you'll find somebody who maybe really specializes in fashion or really, is 100% in or on board when it comes to restaurants or music, what have you. And I really just don't think that way. And either does Chad. And, I like, a luxury lifestyle brand as much as I like a dive bar type of scenario. And so I really looked at brands that we want to work with and that we're excited about, and that also we could build cross-promotional opportunities for. So if we're doing PR for a radio station or a music festival, how would that maybe fit into a beer client that we work with, like a Wild Heaven? And so we really offer a range of services coming from your traditional PR campaigns to, of course, social media, which is so important, to graphic design, to event planning, to event management, and crisis PR is definitely an area that we specialize in.
I'm looking at your website as we're talking, just kind of the fun variety of things that you guys do.
We do. We really do. And we like it. And I like a challenge. And I think that sometimes even when I get so stuck and I don't think anything's formulaic. And so I think it's really important to look at every client from a fresh approach. And so since we have a diverse range of clients, we can always bring fresh ideas to the table.
So what are some of your, just kind of, I guess,
Sure.
What are some examples of some of the clients that you work with?
Okay, so let's see who's on our roster right now. So right now, a wonderful client that we work with called Distillery of Modern Art. So they are located in Chambly, and they're a distillery, but they also have this amazing cocktail lounge, and they're an art gallery, and they do incredible events, and they have live music, and what they're doing is really special and unique to Atlanta, and they are about to turn a year old. Another one we're working with a fashion client, Antidote, who opened close to a year ago over on the West Side. And Antidote is very, very exciting. It's very modern, cutting edge fashion, and they're known for bringing really avant-garde, introducing cutting edge designers, just incredible jewelry. I mean, home, it's for men and women. And really, I think after the pandemic, and I used to do Jeffrey Fashion Cares, they are bringing an element of fashion and excitement to Atlanta that is very much needed. And once again, can elevate it beyond what we see in the luxury arena with the typical like an Hermes or, you know, Gucci that easily be found.
I drove by them last weekend, I think, and I remember
in
I
the
noticed,
old Kodak building.
yeah,
Right?
is it off like 17th, right around there?
Yeah. That whole building has a crazy history too, which is really exciting. It used to be an old Kodak factory, and they used to do all kinds of like government, like secret stuff there.
I drove by and I was like, "What is antidote?" And I read it as antidote. I was like, "What is antidote?" I was like, "What is that?"
One must be absolutely modern.
And see, now there's like 7 degrees of Caren West, and now I know what antidote means.
Yeah, I'm like Kevin Bacon in that way. No, no, it's really exciting. And then we also do a lot of stuff in Arizona. We work with Relentless Beats out there, who do a number of incredible events, festival music events. They actually just did 30 of the probably most high profile parties during the Super Bowl, which is really exciting. They always have something going on, which is really cool. We work with a ton of restaurants too. So everything from Amore, which is incredible, to Concentrics restaurants, to Fire Pit Pizza Tavern. You know, we're really lucky. It's hard you have to work out a lot with the restaurant clients.
Yeah. Restaurant clients are interesting. We've been working with Mellow Mushroom for the last year and a half or so, and they're
awesome.
They're fun. It's a locally founded, locally based company here in Atlanta, but they have restaurants around the country, and just kind of a fun vibe. You know, it's like mellow. They're like, we're mellow.
Yeah, they're super OG.
Yeah. So we're doing some like stuff for 420 Day right now. It's like, okay. So what are the restaurants in St. Louis area apparently has a dispensary right next door?
I mean, that's brilliant.
Right.
Brilliant idea.
And I don't know which was there first, but I'm like, you guys need a billboard when you come out of the dispensary with a big arrow that says "Get your munchies here."
Talk about synergy. Listen, I am a huge fan of all pizza. So,
all right. So here's a fun question. We were talking about this earlier. What do people think you do versus what you really do?
I think we touched on it a little bit. I think a lot of times people will come to us, and because we are fixers to a certain degree, or saying, okay, well, I have this idea, and they think that somehow we're going to take that idea and turn it into reality. A lot of times people will be like, they want to be famous, but then there are, people who are like, I need for somebody, to find a firm or find a person or find brand ambassadors to be talking about what I'm doing, or I need help when it comes to messaging, et cetera. What we really are doing is wearing a lot of hats. Like I said, we really are coming in and with every client, whether it's somebody who's brand new, whether it's somebody who's, a worldwide brand, whether it's an event, assess what's going on and really talk to them realistically about what we can bring to the table and what PR is often, because there are a lot of misconceptions, and we can say, hey, that's not in our wheelhouse. We can't, I can't make a phone call and be like, hey, yeah, you're going to be on the cover of GQ.
You can't do that?
No. Well, it depends who you are. How about that?
Right, right.
So it's really interesting. I think that once again, we wear a lot of hats where I like to be as involved as possible with our clients. I really like to know what's going on behind the scenes and every aspect of what's going on as much as possible. But I often think that businesses sometimes come in when they're in trouble or they don't know what's going on, and they think that we can fix things internally for them, and we're not those people.
Yeah. I mean, I had a referral a couple years ago for a crisis client, and it was one of those where they said, they called me and said, "Yeah, we've got a meeting tomorrow with this investigative reporter from a local TV station. He's coming out." And I was like, "Coming out tomorrow?" I say, "And you're calling me now?" And
Right.
I literally wrote in the contract, "I will not guarantee I can make this go away, but we will try
Right.
to make it less bad."
Right. Less bad.
Less
Right.
bad. It was, I literally wrote that into the contract. He's like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, no guarantees about what we can do here."
I
And
think something,
yeah,
I was going to say, something that's important is that, especially when it comes to crisis, and I think that that can kind of span a lot of things. It doesn't always have to be crisis. I think that PR people, we're good problem solvers. And so we can look at any situation, and maybe it has something to do with what we specialize in and maybe not. But I think that we have the ability to look at it and say, realistically, what can we do, or what can you do,
right,
or help assess a situation, so we're putting it in a more palatable format for
right. And so
people.
sometimes a crisis is just, we're going to get you through this week
Yeah,
as best we can, so you sound compassionate and coherent
right,
and responsive. But you know, a month from now, your insurance company is going to be paying this person who was injured at your restaurant,
right.
or your facility or whatever. Um,
It's interesting. There's a lot of people too who think, and I think because it's hard to portray, like you were saying in TV shows, movies, like, what a PR person necessarily does. And, we do bring a lot to the table. And I think, for us, speaking from our firm, we really care about our clients. And so we do have people who come to the table and they look for PR people, or they look to surround themselves with people who are going to agree with what they're doing, or they have a vision, and, they can be singularly focused. And we're not yes people, even though we are people pleasers. I think naturally as PR people, like, we aim to please, of course, like, who doesn't? But I think that we also have to set realistic expectations,
right,
and
right.
also use our expertise to say, okay, this probably won't happen. Should we always reach for the stars? Absolutely. But in certain scenarios, it's just not going to happen, or here are the steps that needs to happen, so we can
Right.
really lay out a strategy, the groundwork, or the necessary steps in order to help them achieve their goals.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that we started doing years ago with clients is, because clients were having crisis issues, we changed it from crisis communications to crisis preparedness, and we do
Yeah.
a whole thing ahead of time where we sit down and say, "Tell us everything that could go wrong,"
Mm-hmm.
and we put together the processes to help them manage their crisis. I things like, I remember we talking to one client. I said, "Okay, so where's your media center going to be in a crisis?" "Well, it's going to be in this conference room here." I said, "Okay, what if your building's on fire? Then where's your media center?" "What do you mean?" I said, "You can't be in the building. You've had to evacuate. Where's your media center?" "Well, I don't know. I guess we'll go to somebody's house or something." It's like, no. It's like,
Yeah.
there's a hotel across the street. Talk to them ahead of time and figure out how to make that your media center. That kind of thing that people don't think about.
And I mean, one of the things that I love that those logistical things. And I think that it's really great when you find the right PR person or firm or fit for, your particular brand, people who rise to the occasion and who can do it quickly, because we are constantly having to navigate, no matter whether it's really exciting news. Hey, I have this opportunity, like, we need to grab onto it. We need to hustle. We need to move quickly. Or, hey, something really bad happened, or you're dealing with a disaster, or whatever it may be. I definitely love PR because every single day is different.
God knows that.
Right.
Oh, goodness.
Right.
It sure is. It
We're
sure
good and
is.
bad. We're good and bad.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, I've had the opportunity to work with so many different kinds of clients, from Olympics and Super Bowls to
Mhm.
professional services and schools, and one of my weirdest clients was this company that was selling a food supplement for turkeys, and I was working at Cohen and Wolf, and I remember I had like all these turkey industry trade publications scattered around my cube. And Norman Wolf walks by my cube and goes, "What is this? What are you working on?" It's like, "Oh, it's a client." He says, "Is it billable?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Okay," and he kept on walking. But it was one of those clients where they wanted to be in Poultry Times magazine and
Right.
Feedstuffs and Turkey World, that kind of just fun, goofy stuff. But we got to go up to a turkey farm and tromp around in
Listen,
turkeys.
I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
I do.